So it's always very nice to uh, speak at ABC. You know, I first came to Singapore in the autumn of '87. Yeah, so some of you were in your previous life then. Yeah. And Lama Zopa had sent me to be the resident teacher. We didn't have a center at that time. We were hopscotching from one place to another to have teachings several times a week. And then finally, ABC got incorporated and rented a little house on Butterfly Avenue where we had teachings. And then Rinpoche asked me to go somewhere else, and Venerable Sanghya Kadro came. So you were very lucky to have her here for, I think, about 10 years, huh? And I was invited back almost every year. And so there's some very strong connection with Singaporeans. And yeah, so I come every year. If people are interested in the Dharma, then people come to give the Dharma. Yeah. So yeah, so then they rented another place when Venerable Sangha Kadra was here. And then finally were able to get the land here. And then that held on to the land for a while before ABC was able to build the temple and everything, which took some time. So the center has really progressed and developed and benefited many, many sentient beings in that way. And you were quite lucky to have Geshe Chuni as your resident teacher. And I just looked at the poster. He's going to be back here teaching. So you've had just a number of really good teachers. So it's important to take advantage when you have teachers. Take advantage of when you have all the circumstances to learn the Dharma and to put it into practice. We shouldn't take that for granted, because at any moment things could change, and then we no longer have that opportunity. You know, and if you don't believe things can change radically in a moment, think of what happened in Tibet in 1959. The Chinese communists invited His Holiness to some kind of performance and told him to come alone. Yeah, you want the Dalai Lama to go alone to a performance by the occupiers of his country. And that wasn't going to go over well. So His Holiness fled in the middle of the night and became a refugee in India. And the monks, including, you know, Lama Zopa, Lama Yeshe, and so on, you know, Lama Yeshe used to tell us they just, when, you know, they heard His Holiness fled, they took their bowls, because no good Tibetan monk that goes anywhere without his bowl. You know, you eat out of it, you drink out of it, your bowl, you put it in your donka, and it's all the time with you. So they just took their bowls, Lama said, and went into the mountains thinking everything would blow over in a few days and they would go back to the monastery and continue their studies. Well, that's not what happened. And they had to go from the mountains, you know, over the Himalaya mountains in the winter, and became refugees. So, you know, they didn't expect that that would happen. So such a big change in their lifestyle and everything overnight like that. Yeah. So that it doesn't look like that's going to happen in Singapore, but good. Yeah. And I hope it never does in any other country. But, you know, just to be aware that circumstances can change, and so not to take our opportunity to practice and to attend teachings and so on for granted. Yeah. So I know it's Saturday. And everybody likes to sleep late on Saturday morning and then get up and have a late, leisurely morning. You know, it's Saturday, so you skip your morning meditation because it's a holiday. It's not a holiday from samsara. Samsara continues, but it's a holiday on the calendar. So yeah, okay. So we skip our practice. Yeah. But you people all managed on a Saturday to come to teachings. Yeah. Which is wonderful. Because usually, I don't know in Singapore, but usually on Saturday, it's the day where you do all the housework that you weren't able to do during the week. And you do the laundry and mow the lawn and clean the house. So here, you didn't clean your house this morning, but you're cleaning your mind by coming to teachings, okay? And our mind is much more important than our house, okay? Because when we die, what comes with us is not our house, not our possessions, not the money in the bank account, not all your little souvenirs of things. Yeah, the only thing that comes with us when we die is our karma. Yeah, and so depending on what actions we have done, virtuous and non-virtuous, those karmic seeds are on our mind stream. And unless we've purified the negative, the karma, the seeds from negative karma, and or destroyed the seeds of virtuous karma by getting angry or having wrong views. So unless the seeds have been harmed in that way, they come with us to the next life, and then we experience the results in future lives. Yeah, so we should always have a really broad perspective. Yeah, in many ways, a broad perspective. A broad perspective of time, yeah, and not just focus on this life or in especially my pleasure today or my pleasure at this moment, but think in a big scope. Because when we just focus on, oh, my happiness right now, yeah, then we often pass up very good opportunities to learn because we're looking for the external object that's going to fulfill our craving at that moment. And also in the process of getting the things we're attached to or protecting them, then we create all sorts of negative karma. We may lie, we may steal, we may harm others, and so on. Okay? So that's just thinking, in such a small way, I want this now, or I'm mad at somebody now, I've got to strike back at them. And so that very narrow mind, thinking just about this moment, or maybe today, or at the most this lifetime, yeah, we're ignoring all of our future lives. Yeah, and we're forgetting about the karma that we've created in previous lives. So it's very important to have a big picture of time. And, when we create virtue, just really think, be happy about it. Maybe you don't experience the result immediately in this life, but, the karma will ripen in future lives and you'll have good conditions for practice. You'll have, happiness in your future lives. So it's important to have that big perspective. Don't just think, right now. And another big perspective to have is to think beyond ourself, okay? Because usually, who do we focus on all the time? Me. Yeah. Me, I, my, and mine. That is our mantra. We don't start with Om, we don't end in Soha, we just get right to the point. Me, I, my, and mine, me, I, my, and mine, me, I, my, and mine, me, I, my, and mine. We do it all day long. We don't even need a mala to count how many recitations. Yeah, we're just thinking of ourselves all the time. Yeah, and how, we think me, 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 me. How many people are in this room? Yeah, it's not just me. It's a lot of people in this room. How many people live in Singapore? A lot. Over 5 million, coming on 6 million. How many people on this planet? Yeah, over 8 billion. If we count all the sentient beings, the animals and the insects, how many sentient beings on this planet? A lot. And our planet Earth, one little grain of dust in this universe, isn't it? Yeah. When you look at the stars, I like looking at stars, at night, and thinking, well, around those stars, there's probably planets, and there's other living beings there. And what are they experiencing right now? Yeah. And the beings in the hell realms, in the hungry ghost realms, in the animal realms, in the God realms. So many, countless beings. And they're all having experiences of either happiness or suffering at this very moment. Yeah. And they all want to be happy and be free of suffering as intensely as we do. Yeah. So when we really expand our mind to think of all these living beings, then how can we remain focused on me, I, my, and mine? Yeah. We're just one among countless. Yeah? And His Holiness Dalai Lama says, if we want democracy, in democracy, the vote is, whoever wins the vote, whoever has the most votes. So if we compare the happiness of me, one vote, with the happiness or suffering of countless sentient beings, countless votes, and we're going to have a runoff whose happiness is more important, whose suffering needs to be eliminated more quickly. Is it the suffering of one person or the suffering of countless minus one? Yeah? So when we think like that, we place ourselves in a much broader, wider situation, yeah? And what becomes more important is the happiness of the greatest number of living beings, not just my particular happiness, And what becomes more important is alleviating the misery of all sentient beings, not my itty-bitty misery, because I ate too much food and I have a stomach ache, which is going to go away anyway. Yeah. So, when we really adopt the Buddhist worldview, it really calls on us to grow our perspective. Yeah. And at first, that might seem a little bit intimidating. It's like, oh, I have to think of countless sentient beings. What about me? I still got to take care of myself first. Oh, yeah. But if we look very carefully, that intense focus on me, I, my, and mine, yeah, which seems to be our friend and look after us. That intense focus where everything is evaluated in terms of how it affects me, that actually produces more suffering for us. Yeah. Why or how? Because when we're focused intensely on ourselves, then we become incredibly sensitive. So sensitive to every little thing because we process and evaluate everything in terms of how it affects me. Yeah. So the temperature in the room, yeah, I don't think is everybody comfortable in this room. I think, am I comfortable? Is the aircon too cold? Yeah, is it not cold enough? Should we turn it up? Should we turn it down? I want it changed according to what makes me feel good. Yeah. So I'm always paying attention to the sensation. Hot, cold, too hot, too cold, too hot, too cold. We got to change the aircon. Yeah. So I get up, I change the aircon, even though the people who run the center say, do not touch the aircon button. I don't care. I want it to be colder or warmer. I go press the buttons. Yeah. Then we're meditating. Then somebody else, I made the room colder. It wasn't cold enough. Somebody else says, it's too cold. Yeah. And they go and they change it to warmer. Yeah. And then it's too hot again. And, how did it get too hot? I want it cold. Yeah. And we're all supposed to be meditating. Yeah. Meditating on compassion for all sentient beings. But what are we meditating on? If it's too hot or cold for me. You think I'm making up stories? Try doing a group retreat. Yeah, this is exactly what happens. Yeah. So instead of focusing, meditating on compassion for all beings, we're thinking about my happiness now. Yeah. And so we want the temperature adjusted to our happiness. Now, if you're a middle-aged woman, yeah, or even post-middle age like me, you can get hot flashes. So all of a sudden, the room that was a good temperature becomes way too hot. Actually, it's you becoming too hot, but you think it's the room. So it doesn't matter. You go change the aircon. Yeah. Anybody else besides me have hot flashes? I've had hot flashes for 20 years. Yeah. They're supposed to just happen a short time and then go away. But mine are always here, which is good when I'm at home in a very cold climate, Then I get a little bit of heat that I'm not expecting. But, other times in Singapore, you get hot flashes. Okay, so men, you should have compassion. Yeah, yeah. But, so I'm just thinking, all the time about myself. And that's so narrow. And then I'm so sensitive, Like last night, I was giving a talk at Pomingsu, and some people walked out of the talk. Oh, I'm giving a talk, and they walked out. Oh, well, maybe that means I'm not a very good teacher. I wasn't teaching things that they were interested in. Well, the first 4 people walked out. They had an excuse. They had 2 little kids, and the kids were running around and jumping on daddy and jumping on mommy. So yeah, I understand why. But then some other people who didn't have kids, they walked. Oh, my self-esteem as a teacher, went way down because I don't care about if they're benefiting from the teaching. I care about my reputation as a teacher. And if people walk out, it means they're criticizing me. Oh, how can people criticize me? I'm furious at them. But at the same time, I'm hurt and I feel miserable. And I want to run out of the room and cry because people don't appreciate how hard I prepare for teachings and how much I'm trying to do things. Don't you feel sorry for me? Come on, I want some pity. Give me some pity. Yeah? Okay. Who else besides me has pity parties? Yeah. Yeah, pity parties, they're great, aren't they? You take out your lead balloons, you lock yourself in a room by yourself, and then you cry and feel sorry for yourself because nobody likes you. But you've locked the door so nobody else can come in. Eventually, a friend will tap on the door and find a way to unlock it and walk in, and they'll say, "Oh, is something bothering you?" And we go, "No." And they say, "Can I do anything to help?" And we go, "No." Yeah, and we carry on with our pity party. Yeah, aren't pity parties wonderful? You feel so happy. Yeah, it's so nice to feel sorry for yourself because other people don't appreciate how wonderful you are. And people criticize you, So, yeah, you feel sorry. Oh, 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 yeah. Yeah, people who have pity parties. Who doesn't have a pity party? This isn't adding up. When I asked who had a pity party, not everybody raised their hand. When I asked who doesn't have a pity party, nobody raised their hand. So either they are having a pity party right now. Okay? So all of this, what I'm talking about, is talking about our self-centered attitude, and how it makes us miserable. Totally miserable. And yet, we follow our self-centered attitude as if it were the commander in chief. Yeah? Self-centered attitude says, somebody criticized you, go criticize them back. You say, yes. Am I saluting right? All of you, and yeah, said like this? Yeah, one of our nuns was in the Navy. She taught me how to salute. Yeah. So that's what we do with our self-centered attitude. Yeah. Whatever it says to do, we do. Yeah. It doesn't matter if we hurt other people. Yeah. Because self-centered attitude is saying, I'm the most important. Yeah. So I hurt other people. Yeah. Because I want what they have, or I want to retaliate for what they did to me. Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's going to make me happy. Well, when I act like an obnoxious brat to other people, either family members, friends, my colleagues, When I act in an obnoxious way, what happens? Do other people go, oh, you're so nice, I love being around you, and praise me? No, they go, ugh, you know, I don't want to come near you. You're so obnoxious and so selfish. Yeah. Then when people, you know, want to stay away from us like that, then does that make us happy? Self-centered thought did what it wanted. It got that result. People don't want to be with us. Are we happy? No, we're miserable. Yeah, because human beings are social animals. Yeah, we like being around other human beings. Yeah. So you see, you know, really think about this. Make many, many examples from your own life. Yeah, this is not some intellectual meditation. Yeah, it's a tool to look at our own life, look at our own mind, how our own mind functions, and see that even though we want happiness and not suffering, when we follow the self-centered mind, we create more suffering for ourselves and we have less happiness. So who's the real enemy? It's not somebody on the outside. It's the self-centered attitude. Yeah. So then the trick is, okay, because sometimes when we identify our selfish, self-centered attitude as the real enemy of our well-being and happiness, then we think, oh, I'm such a bad person because I'm so selfish. Yeah, I'm so selfish. Yeah, no wonder nobody likes me. I have a hard time not being selfish. And woe is me, I'm really a bad person. Yeah. So we get into self-denigration. And we think that the more we denigrate ourselves, or the more we feel guilty for being selfish, we think that that will purify the karma we created by being selfish. Okay? Now let me ask you, when you feel guilty about being obnoxious, who's the star of your show? Who are you thinking about most when you feel guilty? Me. Yeah. If I'm not the best one and the most important one, well, I am the worst one. Yeah. Look at me. I go to Buddhist teachings and I really aspire to be a bodhisattva, but I'm just so selfish. Yeah. And you sit in, you know, in feeling guilty, in denigrating yourself. Yeah. And it's just more self-centeredness. I'm the star of the show again. Yeah. So guilt is not a virtuous mental factor. Yeah. Feeling guilty, yeah, is when you look at the list of virtuous mental factors, those of you who have studied low rig, is guilt one of them? No. Okay. There is a virtuous kind of regret when we regret our non-virtue. Yeah. When we regret non-virtue, that is virtuous. Yeah. But and that helps us to purify the karma. Guilt just makes us more stuck in ourselves. Mm-hmm. So, you know, very often as kids, we're taught to be guilty. I don't know so much in Chinese culture if that happens. Yeah? Does it happen? Are you taught sometimes to feel guilty for what you did? Yeah, some people say yes. Yeah. In the culture I grew up in, yeah, we're taught to feel guilty. And I think in some religions, yeah, especially if they talk about original sin or stuff like that, then you're taught to feel guilty as a kid. And that's not at all helpful for becoming a better person and for abandoning our self-centeredness. Okay, so we have to be very careful about that. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was the short motivation before teachings. You can tell that Sopa Rinpoche is one of my teachers. Yeah, because what does Rinpoche do when he teaches? You know, the teaching is scheduled for an hour. Yeah, the first 59 minutes is the motivation. The last minute, he starts the topic of the teaching, and then he teaches for another 3 hours, and it's usually in the middle of the night. Yeah, right? So I'm not quite as good as Rinpoche, you know. I started on time. It only lasted 48 minutes, and we will get on to the topic eventually. Okay. Yeah, it's amazing how we pick up qualities of our teachers. I wish I had Rinpoche's compassion. Yeah. Okay. But I'm really such a bad person because I don't have Rinpoche's compassion. You know, he stays up all night, yeah, meditating, doing things for sentient beings, yeah, teaching. Yeah, I want to go to bed early. Yeah. Rinpoche, would sleep. Well, he would look like he was sleeping, yeah, for about a half an hour, somewhere between 3:30 and 4 in the morning after he got done with everything. Then, he would wake up and he would start his morning practices. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I spoke about guilt, and putting ourselves down, is because when I first started Buddhist practice, I would look at Rinpoche and go, I should be like that, I should just be able to go without sleep and work for the benefit of sentient beings. And you know what? I couldn't do it. Yeah, I had to go to sleep at a reasonable hour and get a certain amount of sleep, 5.5, 6 hours at the least. Oh, what a failure I am as a disciple. Rinpoche's teaching all this, and I just can't practice it. So instead of practicing, I spent more time berating myself for not practicing. Anybody else do that? Yeah? I'm so bad, I can't I'm not practicing. Yeah. So instead of practicing, well, it's another opportunity for a pity party. Why not take it? Yeah? So, when you when you start to practice Dharma, you see all these kinds of things in yourself. And, you compare yourself to the Buddha, and you want to be like the Buddha so badly, but we just aren't there yet. Yeah. And it involves accepting where we're at. This is where I'm at. I accept it, but I can change in the future. I can improve in the future. So accepting who we are right now does not mean thinking that we're always going to be like this, because we're changing every moment. And every moment we turn our mind to the Dharma, even just for a short time. We're planting good seeds in our mind stream. We're developing Buddha's qualities. So we have to give ourselves credit for what we do instead of just, giving ourselves failing grades as Dharma practitioners. We're not failing. Yeah, we're doing what we can do at this moment. And we accept that. And we know that as we do even little bits more, we become more and more capable. Yeah. And this is important to remember, because we're about to talk about the 800 verses in praise of great compassion. And he's going to talk about how great compassion, great beings with great compassion, what they feel, what they do. And we compare ourselves and go, too hard, too hard. You want me to have compassion for everybody? Really? Really? All sentient beings? You mean even Donald Trump? Yeah? Even Vladimir Putin? Even Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong? I have to have compassion for them? Ah, impossible. And anyway, they're not deserving of compassion. I want them to be born in hell for what they did to this planet and all the sentient beings' death and misery they're responsible for. They should go to hell. That's a really nice mind state, huh? So, at the first meditation course that I went to at Copan in 1975, yeah. So the original disciples, who kind of came along, who were not Tibetan, yeah, of Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa, we were mostly kind of the hippie generation. And so, our generation, what were we into? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, okay? And as much sense pleasure as you could possibly have. And most of us had gone overland from starting in Europe, overland to India and to Nepal. Yeah, and we landed at Freak Street. Okay, I don't know if Freak Street still exists. I probably think it doesn't. This was a street in Kathmandu where all the hippies went. And you got some drugs and you ate chocolate cake, chocolate cake that you love, but you hadn't had it since you were in Europe and traveled overland. And you were just craving chocolate cake. So you went to these places, the little shops where they made chocolate cake, or maybe they made Danish pastry, or they made some food from the West that you were craving that you hadn't had, and you just eat that. And then you smoke a little bit of marijuana, and then your friend tells you about this monastery up outside of Bodha on a hill, yeah? And so there's no taxis going up. This is like, the 70s. And so you walk up this hill, and you sit down in the meditation hall. You go at a time when they're giving a Dharma talk, or meditation course. And maybe the first course you go into, there's Lama Zopa. And generate bodhicitta. Yeah, and you really have to abandon the 8 worldly concerns because they will impair your yeah. I can't quite do the imitation very well, but this is what it was like, okay? And then Rinpoche, he'll launch into a whole discourse about the disadvantages of the 8 worldly concerns. Okay, so do you know the 8 worldly concerns? Yeah, she doesn't teach them quite as much now, but that's what he hammered into my generation, because we were just into the 8 worldly concerns, and just wanting sense pleasure all the time. And so then, Rinpoche started having 8 worldly concerns, 8 worldly concerns. We start looking at our lives and going, ugh, that just describes my life completely. Always involved in thinking about my own pleasure and getting rid of anything that irritates me, annoys me even in the least. What am I going to do about this? I can't give up chocolate cake. Please don't ask me to give. I know I'm going to die. I know chocolate cake isn't important when I die, but I want it. Please, Rinpoche. Okay. So we're working with this and, so much internal, like, how do I practice this? Yes, it makes sense. Yes, my selfishness isn't so good, but what do I do? Okay, so you get to the point where you're just, like just hanging in there by a thread. Yeah. And then it's Lama's turn to give a teaching. So Lama comes in. Lama's smiling. He's jovial. He just says, he calls everybody dear. Yeah, it's okay, dear. Just accept yourself as you are, dear. And you go, oh, finally, okay, some kindness. Maybe he'll let me have chocolate cake. Lama's so kind. Rinpoche's, kind of wrathful. Yeah, yeah. But, Lama's so sweet. And then, Lama starts talking about having compassion for all sentient beings. So, yeah, he's talking about the same thing Rinpoche did, but he's just gentler. Yeah, just open your heart, have compassion for all sentient beings. And then somebody, raises their hand and says, Lama, what about Adolf Hitler? What about Mao Zedong? Yeah, he didn't know about Donald Trump at that time. Yeah. I said, do I have to feel compassion for them? How is it possible to have compassion for, Mao Zedong is responsible for the deaths of millions of Chinese due to famine, yeah, due to violence. Do I have to, how can I have compassion for somebody like that? Adolf Hitler, same thing. He's responsible for the extermination of 6 million Jews and millions of people who are Polish, people who are gay. You know, how can I have compassion for those people? You know, Mao, Hitler, Joseph Stalin, you know, and Lama, you know, and people would ask that question and really want to know, you know, how do you do it? They aren't worthy of compassion. And Lama would go, and he would sway a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. And then he would say, you know, Hitler means well, dear. Mao Zedong means well. What? Yeah, this was Lama's English. They means well, dear, he would call us dear. What? These people responsible for the death of millions of people who they, you know, either through their policies or through their own hatred, they wanted dead. Yeah, they meant well. Lama, what in the world are you talking about? Of course, we wouldn't say that. We were too polite. But the expression on our faces would be, you know, how could, you know, they don't deserve compassion. And then Lama would explain, you know, he would say, you know, dear, everybody has some compassion in their hearts. There's nobody who lacks all compassion whatsoever. Yeah. They had compassion for their family. They had compassion for the people who belonged to their group. They had limited compassion. But you can't say that they had no compassion. We're sitting there, really? I'm supposed to buy that? Yeah. And then Lama would really say, you know, those people who harm others like that, they do so because of their own ignorance. They think that harming others is going to make them happy. Because why do they think that way? Because they're suffering. And in their ignorance, they think other sentient beings are the cause of their suffering. They don't realize that their own self-centered attitude, their own afflictions, are the cause of their suffering. And instead, they blame their misery on other people. And that's why they harm them. So these people who harm other people, yeah, they are ignorant. They don't understand the law of karma and its effects. They don't understand that by harming others, they're creating the cause for their own misery. Yeah. They don't understand that others are not the cause of their misery. Yeah. So when people are ignorant like this, and they're creating such incredible negative karma that is going to ripen in horrible rebirths for them, yeah, can't you have compassion for them? That they're so ignorant and they're creating the cause of their own suffering by harming others. Aren't such beings worthy of our compassion instead of our hatred? Because if we hate them, and we want to destroy them and their followers, then we're just like them, blaming our own suffering outside on other people. Our mind becomes just like the mind of the people that we're blaming. What good does that do? Yeah. So he said, Mama would say, for your own good, have compassion for them. Yeah. Try to help them. You're not feeling sorry for them. And compassion doesn't mean that you give everybody whatever they want. Yeah. Compassion means you have to hold people accountable for their mistakes so that they can learn from them. But you don't hate them. And you can have compassion for their being so ignorant. And by that time, we're all sitting there going, wow, wow, yeah, I followed that argument. It makes sense. But it's still hard. I mean, the people who hurt my feelings, I had a breakup in relationships. My boyfriend, girlfriend rejected me. Oh, how can I have compassion for them? They hurt my feelings. Yeah. A colleague at work competes with me, and he does better than me, and they got the promotion, not me. Oh, I'm so angry. How can I have compassion at those people, for those people? I'm jealous of them. Yeah. So it's one thing, maybe I can have compassion for these big people who were so ignorant, who killed other people. But compassion for the person who hurt me specifically, me, they hurt. Oh, never will I have compassion for them. I will hold a grudge forever and ever and ever. Okay, yeah. Do you hold some grudges against people who have hurt your feelings or harmed you or interfered with getting what you want? Yeah. We hold grudges. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, we dedicate the merit of our virtue, and then we also dedicate, may that person who hurt my feelings get hit by a truck. Huh? I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves. Yeah. If we aren't honest with ourselves about our own harmful attitudes, then we're never going to be able to change them. Yeah. And then you go, ooh, I want somebody else to get hit by a truck? That doesn't sound very, very nice. Yeah. Do I really want them to get hit by a truck? How is that going to make me happy? So you have a little conversation with yourself, okay? One part of yourself goes, yeah, I want them to get hit by a truck. Or maybe they don't get hit by a truck. Maybe, somebody else, their house burns down, or somebody else hurts their feelings, so they know how I felt. And then the wisdom you looks back and say, oh, that sounds really good, huh? Yeah? You rejoice. You want to harm others, and you rejoice when they're in pain because of it. Yeah, they deserve it. What kind of person does that make you if you rejoice in somebody else's misery and you want to harm others? What kind of person does that make you? It makes me strong. Nobody's going to take advantage of me because they're going to know if they do that, they're going to get it. And the wisdom part of you goes, oh, so that attitude makes you really happy? Yeah, you sound pretty angry. Are you angry? Yeah. Are you happy when you're angry? No. Then why do you nourish your anger? It's only making you more miserable. If you were able to let go of your anger, wouldn't you feel better? I'll think about it. Yeah, think about it a little bit. Because if you hold on to your anger, that means your whole life you're going to be angry. And you're going to die angry. And you'll probably be reborn angry. And what kind of rebirth are you going to have if you die angry? I never thought about that. Well, think about it some and see if you can let go of your anger for your own benefit and for the other people's benefit. Okay, I'll think about it. Because you're going to be a lot happier if you let go of your anger. And other people are going to like you more if you're not an angry person. Really? Other people will like me more? Yeah, try it. Try it. Okay, so you have a little conversation between the angry part of yourself and the wisdom part of yourself. Okay? And then slowly the angry part of itself, of yourself, starts thinking, you know, holding a grudge, it's not so much fun, and it doesn't bring about my own happiness. So maybe I should consider letting it go. Mm-hmm. So that's one way to deal with the really tight anger and hatred that you hold for a long time. Let me share with you another story. This is a personal story. So I was working on a book that was a summary of a conference. And the people in the conference gave a presentation. And then it was a conference with the Dalai Lama. Then the Dalai Lama responded and gave, you know, what the people were saying. They gave a short introduction, and then they asked a question, and then His Holiness responded. So, you know, I'm a disciple of His Holiness. To me, what he says is the most important part of it. So I was in charge of editing the book, and I abbreviated what the other people said, and I made, you know, I put what His Holiness said in full. Okay, and I turned that into a publisher, and they were going to publish it. Sounds great, right? Well, the other people in the conference wanted to look at the manuscript. And they looked at it and they said, well, they didn't say it like this. They said it very, very politely. But the message was, we want our part in the manuscript. Yeah, you got to put our part in. Yeah. And they went to the publisher and got the manuscript behind my back. They didn't even ask me. And they expected me to revise it and put their things in. After I worked so hard. Yeah, this was going to be a great book. And you know what? If they want their pieces in it, they can have the whole manuscript and they can rewrite it. Out of here. Those people. So then I went to Dharamsala. His Holiness was teaching, you know, still being very angry at these people for interfering with my wonderful work, you know, editing the manuscript, who didn't appreciate what I did. Oh, I was so mad, okay? And so, you know, you go to His Holiness teachings, he talks about emptiness, he talks about compassion, he talks about forgiveness. And so one day, after teachings, I'm walking back to the room where I stay. And again, I'm rerunning the whole story of I edited this manuscript in the way I thought was best, and it was best because it emphasized what His Holiness said. But these people, they went behind my back and got the manuscript from the publisher, and then they didn't like what I did, and they criticized me, and they don't appreciate me, and they want me to be rewrite. And then I had that whole video memorized, you know. And then I would go back again and repeat the whole thing, like when you do Om Mani Padme Hum many times, then I would repeat again and again all those things that I did that they didn't appreciate and how mean they were, and And so I'm walking along, I'm playing a tape that is on, what is it called? Rewind or record, what? What? Loop, yes. I was in a loop, around and around and around, how bad they were. And then, I just heard His Holiness's teachings about love, compassion, everything. I'm angry, And then the thought entered my mind. I don't know how this thought came in my mind, but a thought came in my mind, there's over 8 billion human beings on this planet, and only one of them is angry about this situation. This is not of crucial importance for humanity. Yeah. Nobody else knows about it. Nobody else cares about it. It's not a living and life and death situation. And if nobody else is so upset about this, why am I so upset? Yeah? 8 billion minus 1 think that this is trivial. Maybe I should think about what those 8 billion minus 1 human people feel and think. Yeah, this really isn't so important. And at that moment, I dropped it. What relief it was to drop that anger. Yeah, just dropped it. It was so nice. Just being free of anger. Because when you carry a grudge, underneath, you're really unhappy all the time. Mm-hmm. And actually, in the end of it, I wound up when I was working on the Library of Wisdom and Compassion for His Holiness, some of the things he said in that conference went in those books. So it wasn't wasted, you know. If His Holiness said something that was quite unique that he hadn't said in other situations, it got in there, you know. So in the end, it worked out well. Yeah. Okay. So maybe think about this and try this, yeah, in your own life. See what happens. Okay. So that was the follow-up to the introduction to the introduction. Yeah. Maybe it's good if we do a little bit of meditation on that now. What do you think? Okay. So if you need to wiggle or stand up and stretch for a moment, don't walk out of the room. But you can stand up and stretch, you know, wiggle, sit down if you need to. Yeah, and then we'll do some meditation. Okay. Okay. Okay, so sit up straight, hands in your lap, thumbs touching right on the left. Let's start with a brief body scan to release any tension in our body. So be aware of the sensation in your legs and your feet. If there's any tension there, then let that go. Be aware of if there's any, be aware of the sensation in your abdomen and your belly. See if you're holding your belly tight. If you store your stress in your stomach. And if there's tension there, then release that. Be aware of your back and your shoulders. What are the sensations there? And also in your arms. Lots of times, especially if we are at computers or looking at a phone a lot, our shoulders get very tight and our back gets a bit hunched over. So if your back is tight, if your shoulders are tight, try lifting your shoulders up to your ears. Okay, so do that. Lift your shoulders up to your ears. Hold them there for a moment, and then let them fall quickly. Okay, you can do it again. Lift them up, hold it for a moment, and then let your shoulders fall quickly. Shake them around. That helps to release the tension. Then be aware of sensations in your jaw and in your face. Because lots of times we store our tension and our stress in our jaw and in our face. Yeah, our jaw is tight, it's clenched. The facial muscles are tight. So check out. If there's tension there, then let it go. Now turn your attention to your breath. Just breathing naturally. Don't force your breath. Don't deep breathe. Just let your breath be. But pay attention to the sensations as you inhale and the sensations as you exhale. Feel the air entering your body. Feel it leaving. It can be helpful to put your attention on your belly and be aware of your belly getting extended or rising when you inhale and falling when you exhale. So for a few minutes, let's pay attention to our breath and let the mind relax. If you get distracted, just notice that and bring your attention home to the breath. Now think of somebody that harmed you in the past, somebody you're mad at, somebody you hold a grudge for, somebody who you don't want to speak to again as long as you live. And then think that whatever that person did to harm me or to harm others, whatever action they did that I disapprove of, they did it because they were unhappy. They were trying to be happy, and in their ignorance, they thought that harming me or harming others would alleviate their own suffering. So even if they may look prosperous and good now, still inside, they're miserable. Plus, they created so much negative karma. So really think about the situation of that person. And as you think about that person's own misery and how sorrowful it is that they think they're going to be happy by harming others, and yet they won't. So in that way, have some compassion for them. Wouldn't it be nice if they were free of their anger, or free of their confusion, free of their greed that made them do whatever it was that harmed me or harmed others? And imagine that person being free of those attitudes. Imagine them being happy and relaxed without any kind of harmful intent at all. So really work on it to let go of your resentment for them and work on it to cultivate compassion and to imagine them being free from their misery, being happy. And let your mind rest peacefully, free of anger and resentment, free of any kind of grudge. Let your mind rest in the very pleasant feeling of being comfortable with other people, accepting them, having compassion for them. You feel different? Oh. So this is a meditation that we need to do repeatedly, because just as we have run the recording of our resentment and our dislike and hatred now, and become very familiar with that, now we have to again and again do this meditation to habituate our mind to a new way of thinking, a new way of looking at the situation. Okay? So you have to do it repeatedly. One time isn't enough, 2 times not enough. Yeah, but really work at it. Okay? Mm-hmm. Are there questions about the meditation or comments you want to make? Don't be shy. There's somebody, Deki?
The question is like how to differentiate like pity party and self-compassion.
Oh, how to differentiate a pity party and compassion for yourself. Oh, that's a very good question. Okay, pity party. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I can't do anything right. Oh, woe is me. And you sink into that and just blame the world for all your problems and feel miserable. Okay? Compassion doesn't make you feel miserable. When we have compassion, it gives us a sense of hope, a sense of optimism, because we know that suffering doesn't have to be. Suffering only exists because the causes for it exist, and those causes can be eliminated. When we are confident that the causes of suffering can be eliminated, then we feel optimistic. Are you getting what I'm saying? Like, I might feel miserable now, but this is due to causes and conditions. And if I change those causes and conditions, I'm not going to feel so miserable. Okay. But when we're in self-pity, we can't think like that. All we do is stay stuck. Compassion for ourself, listen to this, wants us to be free of samsara. Yeah. Compassion for ourselves means we aspire for liberation. We aspire for full awakening. Because, liberation is the total cessation of all of our misery, of all of the unsatisfactory conditions in our life. Wouldn't that be nice to not have those conditions? Wouldn't it be nice to not have the afflictions that so easily get activated? Wouldn't it be nice to not have this self-centered thought? So compassion for ourselves, compassion wants somebody to be free of their misery. Yeah. So we're not just saying, oh, can I be free of the misery of my little toe hurting? Yeah. When we really have compassion for ourselves, we want ourselves to be free of all the misery of cyclic existence. Yeah. Think big. Think big. Yeah. So, wouldn't that be wonderful if I could attain liberation? Wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah, if I could become a Buddha, then nothing would bother me. Nothing. People could swear at me, they could beat me. I'm going to be so happy and joyful. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have that potential to become a Buddha. I can do that. Yeah. So I have to create the causes for it and abandon the causes of constant rebirth and samsara. But wow, how fortunate I am. I've met the Buddha's teachings. Yeah. I've learned how to do that. I just need to practice it. Create the causes for happiness. Okay? So that's the real meaning of having love for ourselves. That's the real meaning of having compassion for ourselves. Yeah. Some people think having love for yourself means you go to the mall and buy yourself a present. Seriously. Yeah. Somebody came up to me one time after a talk and said, I am so tired of taking care of my family and all these other sentient beings who want me to do this and this and that and that. I'm just tired of it. Yeah, I have compassion for myself. I love myself. I'm going to the mall and I'm going to get myself some jewelry and some really nice clothes. That'll make me happy. Yeah, there wasn't much I could say to that person. They weren't really very open to hearing anything that disagreed with their opinion. Yeah. But, you go to the mall, you buy this and that. You go to the car dealer, and you buy a new car. Yeah, then is that going to make you everlasting happy? Yeah. As soon as you have a car, you are now inaugurated into car hell. Because what car does not break? You think you're going to get the unique car in the universe that is never going to break? Where the transmission's not going to go out? You're never going to have a flat tire when you're in a hurry to get somewhere? Yeah, getting a new car. Yeah, you get a buzz for a few minutes, for maybe a day or two, and then the car starts breaking down, or you have to park the car. Yeah, is finding a parking space in Singapore fun? Yeah, you drive up on this street, you drive down that street, finally you park a kilometer away. And you have to take the MRT after all to get where you're going. you know? So, think big. That kind of happiness, being free of a mind that creates the cause of suffering. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And we can do it. We have that potential. Okay. Other questions? Anything? Okay, so we'll dedicate the merit. And do we have the food offering prayers handy too? Okay, so the verses are on the screen.